Hello, today you're going to join me in stripping out the cladding, the flooring and the bulkhead in the van to see what sort of state it's in underneath it all. Having removed the ramp in the previous episode, it was quite clear to me that the fixing holes would have allowed some water ingress, thus creating rust, a silent killer in vehicles, but I had no idea to what extent it could be damaged. To begin with, the plywood needed to come off the walls. While this is not particularly high quality material, it can almost certainly be reused as material for jigs, templates and prototypes throughout the build, so I was sure to keep it all. In some instances, an adhesive sealant was used that required more barbaric means of disassembly. What do you think of my utility knife, by the way? Now overall, the walls were in very good condition, however there was a pretty heavy build-up of rust around the wheel arches which would need to be addressed at a later stage. We found some water. Ish. This is a common problem in sprinters and is caused by the clips holding the external trim in position, so I'll be fixing this in a later video. Next to be removed was the floor. To begin with, this required removal of the anchor ties, however unfortunately for me, not all of these were easy to remove. In fact, the vast majority needed to be drilled out. In this floor there's a join down the centre. In theory, this simply requires pulling apart, but this joint was tight. You'll actually see how tight it was later in this video, and the sheets were heavy and awkward. Not only that, but pulling it from the back was almost impossible because of the fact it was locked in place by the wheel arches, and pulling it from the front was restricted by the bulkhead. Looks like I'm getting the bulkhead out then. So it turns out if you round the head on a T25 bolt, just hammer a T27 into it and it works fine. Having undone all the screws around the edges, I was perplexed as to how it was still fixed in position. But then I realised, looks like there's also screws behind the seat. Ah yes, of course. Right down in there. There they are. Nice and easy to get to. These were a right old pain to get access to, which is a situation that could have easily been remedied by simply removing the seats, but I'm too lazy and stubborn for that. Fortunately for me, all of the screws came out relatively easily, except for one. Once the bulkhead was out, I could finally turn my attention back to the floor. This came up much easier now it wasn't locked in place by the bulkhead, but the join itself was a pain in the arse to wiggle apart. To make this easier, I put a block of wood, specifically lignum vitae for all you wood nerds out there, under the join in the floor which would allow gravity to aid me. Finally, it wiggled loose and I was able to remove the floor to see the shell I was left with. As you can see, there is a ton of rust on the floor, mainly caused by water ingress from the holes in the floor, as I expected, but we'll be fixing this in a later video, because now I had an empty shell, I could begin recording all of the internal measurements, as well as creating this incredible 3D render of the van interior to aid with planning out the design. I'll be showing you how to do this in the next video, but it's not as hard as you think, and in addition, I'll be walking you through my final design. Thanks as always for watching, I'll see you in the next one.